now he's done. It's time once again for that sensational new show with that one. Blue Monster Broadcasting System.
Hello everyone, welcome to Light Table Talk. I'm your host Atok.
I'm Sean.
This is Mohit. And today we have a very special guest. We have Miss Dr.Rina. Please give a round of applause.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So Sean,
So for those who have not followed us on our Instagram, Spotify, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and also on TikTok, please do so.
Thank you guys. We appreciate your support a lot. So Sean, do you have some questions you would like to ask Dr.Rina? We'll start with you first.
Yeah. Hi Dr.
Just-
Rina.
yeah.
So thank you for joining us today. We are more than happy to have you on our podcast.
No worries. Thank you. Thank
Can
you for
you-
having me.
actually, honestly, you were the first guest we wanted to come on. Yeah. I was telling them that we really need you to come to this podcast. And initially we tried to message you. Yeah, then we finally got you here.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Atok always had a very, he always had an obsession with wild exotic animals.
Yeah. Yeah, so we would like you to start on your life story. Like, how did you get into your field of study currently?
Okay. All right. So I'm actually an exotics specialist in exotic animals. So yeah, currently my work, I actually just work with like your domesticated but exotic pets. So things like parrots, a lot of birds. I work with chickens. We work with a lot of exotic small mammals. So things like rabbits, guinea pigs, hamsters. All those kind of more like exciting in a way, pets, rather
Okay.
than I guess your typical what you think
Dog
about.
and
Yeah,
cat.
dog and cats. Yeah. So I don't see those, but anything else, in that realm that I guess people sometimes call them pocket pets. Yeah. So I just specialize. Actually, spent 7 years, in New York, learning about the species, doing all this extra training to work with this kind of species. So that's really my passion. So I do see some mammals as well. Reptiles in Singapore. So we do see things like red-eared sliders. We see Malayan box turtles, green tree frogs. So those are your typical reptiles that are seen as pets in Singapore.
Pets in Singapore, are they, are the pets you mentioned, like the turtle you mentioned, are they natural to Singapore as well?
Yes. So those are, I guess, considered, from this region. They're all tropical species.
Okay. I haven't seen any of those.
The red-eared slider is actually one of the most common, I guess, reptile species
Okay.
in Asia. And I guess they are actually seen also in the park. So if you ever go to like the reservoirs, you go see
Oh, okay.
those man-made water bodies that they have in Singapore.
Okay.
Usually you definitely see them. They'll be around. They're fairly common. And a lot of pet shops will also sell them as pets.
I think I know the reason why. It's because I don't get out so much. I just stay in my room. I stay in my basement. I hide. All the time. Maybe that's the reason why. So guys, please go to the sun more. Let's
Okay, so what made you want to study to be a vet?
Yeah, so I've always been very interested in animals, and even from a young age, I always had them as pets. So I was exposed to it from quite a young age. So I had minors, I had rabbits, I had mice, I had tons of like birds. So I guess growing up, I always was exposed to it. So when I went to junior college, I didn't even think there was such a career actually as a vet initially. I wasn't privy to it. This was many years ago. Yeah, so it wasn't that common. So when I went to school one day in the junior college, and I went to Temasek Junior College, and they had just a very brief announcement in the hall. They're like, for those who are interested in veterinary medicine, we have someone coming up from Glasgow University today. They're going to have some brochures. You're going to talk to them about your career as a vet. So I kind of was interested. I was like, oh, a vet. I didn't know you could actually be a doctor for animals, So I attended the talk. Obviously, it was very expensive and I couldn't afford to go to Glasgow. But anyway, they kind of put that idea in my mind. And then I'm not sure if you've read these books before. They're actually from an author called James Herriot. So
Okay.
James Herriot is a very famous vet who became an author. He started as a vet and he was one of those country vets, who did everything. He was a mixed animal practice vet. And it was so inspiring. His books just made it sound so fun that you could go out in the middle of the night, do a carving, and then you see this goats, and then you'll treat a dog, and then you treat this cute bird, So it kind of made it seem like this, I guess, a fairy tale version of being a vet, like it was one of those
He
things.
made
But
it sound too very good.
oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. So I read, I went to my school library and I borrowed all the books about James Harriet and I read it all. And then I was like, I told my mom one day, I was like, you know what, this is what I want to do. This is definitely what I've been, born to do. My
Sorry to
passion.
stop you. What was your what was the
Field of study.
field of study that you were pursuing?
Oh,
Was it-
just biology.
or just
Yeah,
biology?
so I,
Okay.
initially I was like going to do like maybe because in Singapore there's not really a vet school, right? So the only thing close enough was zoology. So I was like, well, I'll do it. I wasn't that interested in human medicine, so I did bio, but not in intention to do human medicine. But I didn't know exactly what after that what I was going to do with my degree. But when I knew about vet, I was just like, this is what I want
This
to
is
do.
it.
This
This
is
is
it.
what I want to do.
And I told my mom if I can't do it, and then we couldn't have the funds to do it, and obviously my we didn't come from a very wealthy background. Like, you know what, if I can't afford to do vet, I'll become a bird trainer. I'll work in Jurong Bird Park and I'll be a
Okay.
bird trainer. I was like happy to do that, and then she was like, no. Yeah, we'll manage. We'll find the funds. So then we managed to do it, thankfully, and I went to Sydney Uni, and then that's where I did my undergraduate degree. And then after that, then I pursued further education. I did like my postgrad, I did my training and my internship and residency to become a specialist. That was in the US.
Okay.
So
Okay. So how long were you in the US?
almost 8 years, I would say.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I guess I was away quite a bit, so after school, went to Australia for my undergrad, and after that going to the US. So I was away for quite a long time. But then I guess Singapore
think-
called back, and then had the kids, had to come back. So
Okay.
yeah.
I think Aussie is like the perfect place for you to take your degree in, because there's so many. Every time I see Aussie videos in YouTube, there's always some rare animal. I saw a video there was like there were tarantulas. You know on
Oh,
the
yeah,
street there were
yeah.
tarantulas.
Of course, yeah.
Or spiders. There's so many.
So definitely, I agree with you. I mean, like, it was very, very interesting. Like, the caseload was so much more variable, and we saw so many more interesting animals as an exotic vet in the US. I never worked in Australia, but obviously I trained there a little bit. But like, like in the US, we saw things like fennec foxes, prairie dogs, as pets. We saw hedgehogs, we saw gliders, we saw all this an amazing array of like reptiles, like from like huge iguanas to like everything you could think of. Like, people would have so many different species of snakes. So definitely the amount of things that we did and saw was much more varied, a
Okay.
bit more tame here.
A more tame, okay.
Safer lah in a way. Safer in a way.
Safer than Aussie, yes. Like
So, previously I heard that you were working in the Singapore Zoo. Can you
Yes.
please tell us some of your experiences?
Oh yeah, it was a fantastic
interesting ones.
experience. Yes, yeah. I had that really, I guess, a very good opportunity. When I was in the US, then I got a job, offer to work at the Singapore Zoo. So I figured it was a once in a lifetime thing. I have actually obviously worked as a student. I actually did some volunteer work at the zoo. So I was very drawn to it. So after when I got this offer, I thought I couldn't miss up on it. So I came back and I did my stint there. So it was about 2 years. So it was very good because it was very different. So like when you're a zoo vet, you're looking at more like a herd health management. You're not looking at the individual.
Okay.
So you're thinking about how am I going to keep this group of animals healthy? What are the interactions between different social groups? What's the why do animals get sick? Like we're looking at more from a preventive standpoint. So things that affect one animal is usually not just one. It will be like 10. So I guess that's where the style of medicine is different. So that was very interesting, and then we did a lot of studies. I think you've read some of my studies.
Yeah.
We did a lot of
Yeah.
nutritional studies, and also I think nutrition plays a big part because when you have a pet that's so exotic, not a pet, like an animal that's so exotic, you're taking it out of its natural environment and you're putting in an artificial environment. You've got to make sure you're feeding it the right food. You've got to make sure like all the housing is correct and it has all the enrichment that it needs. So it's very, I guess, it's like a full-time job just to figure that out.
Dr. Rina, do you mind sharing some of the animals which you have studied? Like
In the zoo,
which you have done in-depth studies on?
Oh, well, I guess I was very drawn to the primates, I guess.
primates, okay.
That was one of my favorites. And the birds, obviously, too. So So I spent a bit of time working with the callitrichids, so we did some studies on like what causes them to develop very bad diarrhea, so there's a syndrome called marmoset wasting syndrome. So we kind of like figured out what are the risk factors for them developing this disease, so it's usually like a man-made thing, right? So like these animals in the wild wouldn't have it, but in captivity sometimes unfortunately things happen that they don't get enough fiber, they don't get enough sunlight, they get stressed, then they get this like perpetual diarrhea, which mustn't be fun for them. So, so kind of want to figure out like what are things that predispose it, and it's a worldwide phenomenon. It's not just in Asia. Like marmoset wasting syndrome affects all of these callitrichids in like all the institutions around the world.
But it's all the marmosets in captivity, right?
Yeah. For what we know, I guess it doesn't affect them in the wild.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting to, I guess, figure out like what can we do differently? How can we keep them in a way that it doesn't stress them out, so they don't get this like the persistent diarrhea.
Okay, understand.
So what would you like advise like people who are taking care, let's say, of marmosets? Like what sort of diet should they follow, or specifically?
Yeah, so I guess there were many factors. I think the amount of light that these guys get, so they're meant to be living in trees, in the wild, right? So I think they get a lot of UV. So I think if you start keeping them really sheltered and not enough sunlight, sometimes that can affect the amount of vitamin D that they get.
Okay.
And also like the type of fibrous food. So maybe in the wild they eat a lot of leaves and things that are very high in fiber. So if they start eating, more fruits, let's say, like they love fruits, but it doesn't mean that that's what they should
Just
eat.
to get it right, for viewers, the marmoset is the finger monkey, right? You see the one, the very small,
Oh, yeah, they're very,
Yeah.
very small
the very
monkeys.
small one.
Yeah.
They can fit in your finger, right?
Some of them, but they're different types. So there's many within the family of callitrichids. There's so many different species. Yeah, so I think they're just but you're right. They're the smaller kind of monkeys.
Smaller kind.
Yes.
Okay.
I
So
guess-
they are also chimeras or something like that, right?
They have some chimera properties. Or
Yeah. I was reading about it. So
Not quite. Yeah, not sure about that.
So
Yeah.
so basically in like some of the research we did, like the marmosets, right? Like for example, we human beings, we get our genetics from our mom and dad, and mom and dad gets the genetics from their grandparents. But marmosets also, they will share genetics with their own how to say, like their own
uncles or
Okay.
And we found it very interesting. So they could have two different types of they basically, what do we read? They have two different set of genetics.
Yes,
and
correct.
I don't know the specifics of it.
Yeah, we definitely won't know. It's too much to understand, but
Yeah.
that's the
so
base
so
of
we
it.
found
I
it
would
interesting
say.
because like, if you play like video games, they always talk about chimeras. In Greek mythology, it's basically a fusion of a lion, of a sheep, and a
Snake.
and a snake.
Yeah.
So we
okay.
found it very interesting that it has they have two different genetic properties of like we just found it interesting
Yeah.
as well.
So let's get back to like what she does as a vet. So I think that as a vet, especially an exotic vet, people want to know that exotic in what sense? Like
Oh,
what does exotic represent in Singapore especially?
I think it's just relating to the type of animal that you're seeing, right? So it's not a dog or cat. So like everything that comes under that umbrella of like it's a pet. So I guess like a barnyard animal, not so much, right? So like especially in Singapore, like you wouldn't get like goats, pet, pet sheep, not so much, right? But that would kind of go under the umbrella of like a large animal. They call it large animal medicine. Yeah, so that's not really part of my specialty. So I don't do those kind of animals, like ruminants. So there'll be like a large animal vet. But then you have obviously like horses that will be under horse vet. So not that, but anything other than that. So meaning that if you have a pet that's like a reptile or like a small mammal that's not a dog or cat or a bird that's an exotic pet.
Me and Atok, we did had a bird last time.
Okay.
Maybe I think it was 10 years ago.
Maybe.
Okay, all
I think
right.
it was about 10 years ago. We had this love bird.
Okay.
So we were interested. Somehow we came up with the idea. I think we should keep a bird.
Okay.
I think we should
Birds
keep a
make
bird.
good pets.
Exactly. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. So when we bought the bird, we were scammed in a way. We were tricked They told us the bird because we didn't do any research back then. So when we went to the pet shop, they told us, oh, this bird is still a baby.
Okay.
But we didn't know it was like halfway there already, full grown. In a way. And plus it's small, so
Yeah.
we couldn't tell.
Yeah.
So when we bought the bird,
Yeah.
the first day, the bird flew off already. So
There's a short experience as a bird owner. Yeah. Well, I think that's why I guess I encourage people to visit your vet when you do get a new pet, especially if it's new to you. So you've never had a bird before. The uncle, at the pet shop, obviously well intentioned, but may not be giving you all the right information you need to bring up that bird in the best way possible. So I guess when we have this thing called wellness checkup or wellness exam. So no pressure on you. You just be like, hey, look, I just got a bird. I just want to get it checked up and then maybe discuss things. So usually during the checkup, that's when I would talk to you. I'll be like, hey, look, yeah, the bird, a bit older, be careful, it can fly. I'll go through the diet, I'll go through the setup, the purchase, the food. Everything you need to know about healthcare, usually we'll cover it. Usually it's like half an hour, we kind of chat about things, very casual. And also examine the bird, make sure it's healthy. So if you do say, hey, look, actually the bird doesn't look so good, some people might elect to be like, hey, look, maybe I'll take it back to the shop. So sometimes it's kind of a good like assurance that you have bought a bird that's healthy. Yeah, so I think it's really important because I think that's when the education starts, where you kind of get all the information. You don't make the mistakes that way. Oh, no, I wish I knew it, like later on that I wasn't doing the right thing. And then by then the bird would have been sick or it might be too late to fix it.
okay. So you all heard it first from Dr. Rina. Don't be like me and I'll talk. When you get a first animal from the pet shop, please get it checked.
Yes.
Okay?
Do a wellness checkup.
Please do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
It will fly off.
exactly.
Scam.
We all know.
I've had people thought that they bought a reptile, but they didn't realize they needed water. Just to give you a very broad example, and the thing lived without water because they thought it was a dry tortoise, but actually it's a red slider, and it's not. It's not happened once. It's happened at least 5 times. So I mean, we don't know. That's the thing. You might get the wrong information. You read something that wasn't quite right, or the person who sold the animal didn't tell you the right thing. But something as simple as that, you could actually fix it and save the animal's life. Why not? Why not?
Speaking about reptile,
Actually,
right?
that's true.
Speaking about reptile, what are the most exotic reptile
Which you have seen.
you have seen or
Yeah.
vetted for?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a bit limited here in Singapore because there are only a few species that are considered legal for humans.
I mean like
animals.
overseas.
Like overseas?
Yeah,
what?
it doesn't have to be in Singapore.
Oh, okay. I mean, like obviously, like I've seen those. Obviously, the giant tortoises at the zoo.
Oh,
You know, like tegus are pretty cool, but they can be quite aggressive. Yeah. So I've seen tons of snakes.
Have you
so
seen a
obviously-
crocodile? Or
Yes,
some-
obviously I've seen crocodiles. Yeah, but at the zoo we saw everything, right?
Yeah.
So as a zoo vet, you get exposed to everything. So
But have
yeah.
you treated any of these big reptiles?
As a group. So usually if
group,
it's something
okay.
more dangerous, obviously like I was considered newer, so we would do things with the more senior vets at the zoo. Yeah, so we would sometimes have to transfer crocodiles from one section to a different. So
Have
they
you
need to
ever get stung or bite before?
No, not at the zoo. Yeah, thankfully, everything was good. I mean, we had a good team, we had a good sedation protocol. So anything that's considered more dangerous, obviously, like venomous, only one vet was authorized, to treat or kind of handle that animal. But anything that like potentially could bite, obviously if it's very aggressive, we would sedate them. So there are drugs that to give these animals to make them a bit calmer, so then they can be restrained.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's always a lot of safety protocols that are in place.
So have you treated any animals that were sedated, but they didn't really fall asleep or?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've been bitten before, obviously, especially when I was younger. And like I was starting out, got bitten by a Moluccan cockatoo right here. I couldn't feel my finger for like probably 6 months because it's a crushing injury.
Okay.
Yeah, so it just bit my finger here as it was waking up from anesthesia, and I just grabbed and crunched. So then you get this like numbness in your finger. So I mean,
Okay.
things happen, but I got bitten by a bearded dragon before, but nothing major, nothing that would send me to the hospital or anything.
Actually, I've always been wanting to ask this question. Okay, since you were at the zoo before, when you see the animals, their fences are very low. Why don't they escape?
Well, usually there's a moat.
Okay.
So there's a body of water behind the fence that has deep water. So some animals obviously they can't swim, so like they can't get across the moat. So usually that's the case.
Okay. I mean, like for monkeys, they can just jump out.
Well, I guess in Singapore Zoo, I think they do have the concept where it's like a free and open environment. They usually, if you look carefully, there will be electric fencing.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
so they're kind of free roam in their
Electric
yeah,
fence.
Yeah, they're free roam in their kind of the enclosure, but there is actually sometimes there are electric fencing. So if they go past a certain point, they can't
okay.
go past that.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
interesting.
interesting. Yeah.
I didn't know. Yeah.
Finally, I get it out of my head already. It's been years since I've been thinking, why?
Yeah.
If I were them, I would just jump out of the.
Well, some of them do. Yeah, so sometimes we do get the calls. We're like, oh, something's moved away.
Oh,
Please get
okay.
it back. Yeah, it happens. Sometimes they will really like push themselves, but most of the time they will stay as a group. Most primates, they are social animals. Like they don't want to escape unless they're trying to usually get at something, like they're angry at something else. Then they would sometimes the males will jump, or like there's a female across somewhere that they want to try their luck with. Yeah. But most of the time they will stay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Mohit.
Why it reminds me of you? Why does it remind you of me?
If you want something harder now, I guess you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Never
guess
say
in
never.
that sense, yes. I mean, I always debated this with my group of friends whether it's whether it's really ethical to keep animals inside the zoo. I mean, a lot of them. I mean, I guess a lot of them they left the wildlife quite ago.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess it was.
I mean, in
a
the
bit,
context
yeah.
of Singapore Zoo, we can
Yeah.
say, because you say it's
Yeah,
a very open and free environment for the animals.
Yeah, so I guess it was a really quite a good eye opener in that sense, like of working there, because when I was, like a visitor, it's different. When you actually work there, then you kind of know the processes, like what actually happens behind the scenes. So like having been involved in the health of the animal, I guess I found it sometimes quite hard to kind of take, like in terms of like like you say, the quality of life that these animals would have, compared to if they were in the wild. Like it's very different. I don't think that as best a care as we can provide, it's very different compared to if they were in a wild environment. Yeah. So I guess I experienced it more, and I guess it disturbed me a little bit. But I guess that's just me because I'm a softie. Yeah. But of course, the way we would look at it, I guess zoos are, the animals are the ambassadors, for the ones in the wild. So I guess the reason why zoos exist is actually for education, conservation. So if our people don't, like the general public don't know why these animals are important, what do they stand for, like we can't really carry on the message of conservation. So I guess it's more for that, I guess, for the greater good. So like the way it should work is that people come to the zoo, they get enlightened, they learn about it, they learn about how come I
think
should
it would be
waste
much better
things, they learn about how precious these animals are, and then they will learn about it. But rather than reading through a book, then it might not hit you as much. Yeah, so I think that's why they exist.
I mean, for the majority of the population, I would say people just go to the zoo. For them, it's like a circus, like a way to pass time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
honest, to being very honest. It's like
Yeah.
for you to pass time. A lot of them, I mean, I have a few friends. They go there just for dating and stuff.
Yeah.
They don't even care about anything else. They just go on dates and
Half the time when I was at the zoo, I was just complaining about the heat.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So I guess in Singaporean culture needs to change in that way, right? Don't you agree? Like we have to be more
Aware?
aware, aware of like of animals, like what we can do.
I guess
Actually,
there's certain target groups, I guess, that the zoo target. So I guess it affects you more when you're young. Like her age, obviously, like, like when you go to the zoo, it impacts you more. And then like you say, when you're a teenager or young adult, like you're going to go to the zoo once in a while just for fun with your friends, but it doesn't really impact you. And then when you have maybe kids, then later on, then you get drawn back into it. So I think it has that troughs
Cycle,
and
yeah.
peaks, like so. So I guess the way it works, I guess the schools will usually bring kids there. I guess then maybe
Makes
that-
sense,
Yeah, I don't know. Like you say, like for maybe your age group, it doesn't hit you as much. It doesn't impact you as much. But I guess you can look at it as a form of just exposure, I guess.
actually, maybe
Because we live in such an urban environment.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
else would you see these animals?
actually that's true. Once we have kids or what, then we will start to
To realize maybe.
Yeah, we'll start to realize that I want my kids to be educated.
Yes.
I want them to know
Yes.
these animals here and there,
Yeah.
even though maybe we are not really experienced with all the other animals, we have no knowledge about them. So yeah, I want my kids to be smarter than me anyways. In a way.
Yeah, actually, I have a question about when you mentioned that if you get a new pet, you should bring it to the vet to get it checked out and like a wellness check. But the problem with that is, I would say, vets are really expensive. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess it's a mentality. It's like a paradigm shift, you know. So I guess things get expensive when they're sick. I feel, you know, like the
Okay.
consultation cost is not too bad, but I guess when it adds up, you know, like when then you have to treat the animal and it can be quite intensive because with exotic animals when they're sick, they're really sick because by the time the animal is discovered to be ill, usually we talk about them being a prey animal, they will hide it. You know, so they won't show the signs until they're like really on death's door. Then owner like, oh shoot, you know, the animal's not feeling good. I take it to the vet. So it really needs quite a lot of care by that stage. So of course, if we catch it early or if we prevent an illness, it would save you money down in the long run. You know what I mean?
Actually, I like to
Correct.
counter your point. I mean, you say it's going to the vet is expensive. Then why even have a pet in the first place? If you're not able to afford a pet, why should you have it in the
That's
first
true.
place?
I agree. But
I mean,
a lot of people don't treat their animals. I feel that it's because of it's too expensive, right? Yeah.
This is the argument I always make. Like, why will you even have a pet in the first place if you're not able to afford it?
Yeah.
Don't even have a pet in the
Yeah,
first
'cause
place.
I guess pets are considered a luxury.
Yeah, correct.
of course.
Yeah. So I guess unless you are very impulsive and you bought it without thinking, but usually if a person who's, you know, practical, they would think about it. You know, like it's the cost of the food. You know, cost about healthcare. You know, cost about the upgrading the environment for the animal, providing enrichment for the animal. Like it involves a lot of time and money.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's not just like I want it because it looks pretty, or, you know, like it's a decoration for my house, or like I want to just show it off. Yeah, so those are the kind of mentalities I guess people should shift away from. And obviously, it doesn't matter if it's a hamster, you bought it for X amount versus a dog, you get it for X amount. You know what I mean? Like it's not the cost of the animal, but it's what the animal means to you. You know, it's how much you would spend on it because you have a bond with the animal.
I think a lot of my friends, especially amongst my age, they usually get a pet because you know they feel a lot of loneliness. You know they feel lonely. Really,
Yeah.
I'm being honest. Like you know, Singapore is a very fast-paced society, so people just get lonely. You know,
You have no
they have no avenues to you know to
like
speak
I
to
guess you
someone.
have sometimes you get isolated because it's so many people around you. You don't have that opportunity to have a bond and it's so busy. So I guess having an animal that you can connect to sometimes brings you, like you say, takes some of that loneliness away.
I agree.
Like for me, that's the reason why I got I recently got a poodle as well. The reason was no, really,
Feeling sad and lonely.
Yeah, no, we
got a dog.
decided it after you know because during COVID, all of us were
Yep.
very you know
yes.
like when we were especially in lockdown, a lot of my family. A lot of families I know they got together and everything. My family was one person in a room, another person in a room, another person in a room. Everyone was minding their own business.
Yeah.
But when so then my sister had the idea. Okay, let's get a pet.
Yeah.
And honestly, I can see that ever since we got Milo, my poodle, our families bonded a lot because
Good.
you know he will go and play around with everyone, and then you know we'll try to find.
No, that's a poodle.
Yes, poodle, yeah.
It's an ugly
Yeah,
poodle.
He's cute.
So what you're saying is actually quite common. Actually, it's like a worldwide phenomenon where during COVID, a ton of people got animals. You know, it's not only in Singapore, but
really?
everywhere, worldwide. So you
Yeah.
can read about it. Like suddenly, like the boom in animals as pets went up ridiculously because, like you said, people were not working, they were isolated, they had nothing to do, couldn't
It
travel.
was not weird.
So yeah, it's not weird. So suddenly I guess the demand for healthcare also shot up.
Yeah.
So suddenly, like there wasn't enough vets, there wasn't enough vet nurses because suddenly all these new animals came into play. Yeah, so there is still a kind of a crisis actually for healthcare for animals right now.
Yeah, I was about to ask you like how did COVID affect the vet
industry,
industry?
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
from what I know is like what you said that during the COVID period there was a lot of people getting pets.
Yeah. So I think then it helped in a way that I guess pets became more popular, but I guess then it also created this
They
shortage. Not really, actually.
Okay.
No one abandoned pets yet. Not that I know. No, I think it was more of a shortage of healthcare.
Okay.
You know, like so suddenly people got longer waiting times, you know. And not only in my practice, this I hear from other vets as well, you know, like they kind of feel like, you know, they couldn't get the job done in the time they're supposed to because there's just so much work, you know. So I think that there was a demand, you know, because people suddenly, like I say, got poodles, got cats, you know, rabbits, you know. So I guess that's good for the profession and the whole, but of course then that created that, you know, a little bit of
Vacuum?
maybe customer like experience go down a bit because suddenly everything
Okay.
busy, right? So like you have to wait longer. Yeah, so
Okay.
Do you have any pets of your own?
of course.
What?
Yeah, so I'm actually a bird person. I'm actually in my specialty is actually for exotic mammals, right? But I'm actually a bird person. So I have chickens. Yeah, so I have 2 pet chickens. So they're Orpingtons. They roam around everywhere. They come in my dining room. They sit with us. So they're very socialized, very
chickens,
spoiled.
Chicken.
Oh, yeah.
So,
And then I have an African grey parrot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then I have a lot of fish. I like fish. And I have a cat.
Dog?
No dogs.
You're not
Why?
dog person.
Why no dogs?
Oh. Because
Naughty.
yeah, no time, and then yeah, my family it's actually Muslim, so
Oh, okay.
okay.
so no dog. But my husband is actually a vet as well, so he's actually a specialist for orthopedics for surgery for dogs and cats. So actually, he works primarily with dogs and cats. So it's
Okay.
always one of those things that one day we'll get more animals, but I guess right now it's a bit busy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so the chicken is the longest that you have
No,
ever kept?
the African grey parrot actually.
okay.
So parrots can actually live for very long. So actually, you were saying just now, like my bird was probably older than what it seemed. But to be honest, the lovebird could actually live for like, you know, probably 12, 15 years, you know.
I wish I
So-
could see that.
Yeah, yeah. So like my parrot, the African grey parrot, I've seen them live to like 40 something years old in captivity, even 50.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's 16 now. So I've had it since it was 4 months old.
Oh.
Yeah.
I guess my lovebird didn't even want to.
No, I didn't want you.
They didn't want to see me reach the age of 20. So
Yeah, so
Is your parrot able to talk?
yes, yeah.
Like it's just simple words, because I always see like online. I see, you know, I always want to talk to a parrot. You know, see
Don't.
whether it can.
don't.
Yeah, I won't.
The parrot will
Yeah.
give up.
Does it learn like? Does it learn your language? How does it work?
Oh, I think it's just repetition. So it's mimicry, right? So they're kind of just mimicking what you're doing back to them. So it likes to call people. So it knows all the names of the people in the house. It has different voices. So you'll be able to call like my name, my husband's voice, and then you'll call my helper's name, or call my daughter, you know, like, so it just likes doing things like that, like beeps, like the sounds of the microwave. So it will know when the microwave is going to come off. Like when it's done, you know, it makes a sound, like when you're turning on the aircon, it makes that beep. So the moment you pick up the remote, it'll make that sound. So I think it thinks it's funny.
okay. Wow.
Yeah, so it
So
preempts
it's
things.
a very intelligent animal that is able
Very,
to.
very smart, yeah.
I think all of us should get a parrot.
Yeah,
We'll
but
see what happens.
yeah, yeah, it'll pick up like swear words. You know, if you like to swear around the bird, like it will sing songs if you sing around it. So whatever you do, it reflects back. You know,
I
like
think
you.
I think we shouldn't get a parrot. Definitely not.
But they involve a lot of time. You know, so I always tell people like a parrot is like they have the intelligence of like a 2-year-old human. You know, so like that's how smart they are. But they will now grow past that point. You know, so like they will always constantly need a lot of reassurance
Attention,
and
reassurance.
like training, enrichment. Like, you know, so that they need a lot from an owner. So for someone who's going to be like absent, like away from the house quite a bit, they might not be the right pet for you.
Okay.
Atop has an experience with one of his longest bird that he ever had. Was it the budgie?
No, it was another lovebird.
Another bird. Okay, after the first one that flew away from me,
Okay.
we got another batch.
Okay.
So literally we raised it from baby this time.
Okay.
So we feed the lovebird with syringe.
Okay.
The formula,
Yeah.
like the formula kind of.
So it grew, but at the end of the day, it flew away from me again. And that took a few months. He had a very, very loyal, but I think it's a depressed bird. Because most of the time when he leave the cage door open, it doesn't fly. It doesn't fly away.
Yeah.
He doesn't fly away. Even he calls the bird, it doesn't move, doesn't do anything. You just like stay there and like rot inside the cage. But then he'll take the bird and he'll bring out, he'll point his shoulder, he'll point his head, then he'll start walking downstairs. But he won't fly. He won't fly away.
Isn't it a good thing?
No, but I think it's like some sort of depression or something.
Yeah.
No, I think that if the bird has a bond with a person, I mean, usually they will not go away. I mean, there is the thing called flight training. So birds can be trained to fly free, and then they can recall the bird to come back. You know, obviously the bird doesn't have to come back, but it usually will come back if it has a bond with the owner. So I think like what you're saying, you know, that bird loves you, it wants to be with you, it wants to stay on your shoulder, on your
You love
head.
him, not him.
Yeah. So I think the bird just it's a normal thing. Actually, I guess for the ones that fly away, sometimes it's an accident. And obviously I have a lot of clients who obviously have experienced this before too, like the bird accidentally escaped, you know, and they usually they want to be with the owner, it's just that they got spooked. Something fell, something dropped, loud sound, the bird just automatically, as a prey animal, their instincts to just fly away. Yeah, so sometimes and then they fly away, they can't come back, they don't know how to come back, they got lost. Yeah, so there is a type of training you have to do to teach the bird how to come back. You know, like so usually there's a type of thing that you can consult a bird trainer for that. They can actually teach you how to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I had enough of birds for time
For a
being.
while.
Yeah, for a while, like, it has traumatized me over the years. So whenever I see people having bird, the only thing I could think of is,
Don't fly off.
please don't fly away from me.
Yeah. Well, you can
enough.
always clip the wings, you know. So it's not painful. So it's just small thing. It's like having a haircut. So
Okay.
you have to allow the bird to glide, but not to take lift. So there's a way to actually do a little bit of trimming to the wings so that the bird cannot take off in the.
I did trim the wings. I did.
Yeah, but you should
literally,
consult a
like,
vet when you trimmed it, or you just anyhow do it.
Oh, Sean, no.
Yeah.
What did you do, Sean? What did you do, Sean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we
there's a
didn't-
technique to
yeah.
do it. Yeah, there's a technique.
So
I don't know whether it was feeling pain or what, lah, but
No, but sometimes if you don't trim enough, like you said, then the bird will have lift. You know, and plus the feathers grow back, you know, so you have to check it. So you can't assume that, oh, I trimmed it 6 months ago, it's good for life, you know, like it's something that you have to do it again and again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking about feathers, yeah, I saw something about blood feathers. So what is blood feathers?
Blood feather is a feather that is growing out. So it has a particular type of, I guess, vascular nature to it. So once it grows out to a certain length and then it becomes mature, then it comes out like you can see the actual barbs and the actual colorful part of the feather come out. So when it first comes out, it usually looks like more like a little sharp point. Like it looks like just like a porcupine spike like
Okay.
that. Yeah. So that's called blood feather. So those ones can be quite
Painful?
painful, like a little bit more sensitive, you know, because it's more vasculature in it, or the nerves endings are more raw. Yeah, but it's a normal process. All feathers will grow from that same process. It will become a blood feather, a pin feather they call it, and then it matures, become a mature feather, and then it.
Okay, I have a question on the topic of exotic animals. Is there any way, if let's say I take some certificates or something, will I be capable of owning any exotic animals in the
Yeah,
Singaporean
yeah.
context, or will I not be? Will it
Yeah.
will it not be possible?
Yeah. So we're not quite there yet in Singapore, but I guess in some countries, for example in Australia, they do have courses or certificates that you need to do to prove that you can own a certain type of animal. Yeah, so that's quite good, I guess, in a way. So
No, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, so it opens up that avenue of being like, hey, look, I am good enough, I'm responsible enough that I can own something more exotic. You know, so let's say I wanted to get, for example, a bearded dragon, I would need to pass a course, you know, to prove myself, and then you can get a dragon.
Oh,
with
so
that
means
license.
Education is important.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
So that means even if you let's say a Singaporean person, they took a certificate overseas or let's say all around the world to have this animal, but if they come to Singapore, they won't be legally able to.
No, not
to
yet,
own
because
it?
there's no such I
There's
guess
no
recognition of
regulation.
that. Yeah. So right now the law would be like there's only a certain number of species that you can keep as pets. Yeah. So I somewhat agree with some aspect. Obviously, I don't think we should keep like primates as pets. You know, like no matter how the law changes, and obviously in places like the US you can though. You know, so like places in some countries, so you can get a tiger as a pet. Why not? Yeah. So but I guess with that power comes
A lot
great
of
responsibility.
responsibility.
So
Correct.
like the primate is so intelligent, and like how is a person going to be able to recreate that? Like are you going to have a harem of monkeys then? Because you can't keep one. It's cruel, right?
Yeah,
So
of course.
then they're so intelligent that I feel that sometimes there has to be a limit to, what should be kept as a pet and not.
But it's always going to be like, for example, there's always going to be some animals whose maybe for whatever reasons they escape their habitat or for maybe because of wildlife trade they end up in places they are not supposed to be. So this could serve I believe this could serve as an opportunity for people who are actually capable of taking care of those animals, to take them as pets. I think that would help a lot, right?
Yeah.
In
I don't know. I guess they kind of become damaged. So when I was working in the zoo, I guess that we did come across some of those species animals, like you say, like they somehow couldn't be reintegrated into a group because they were raised by humans, and they're forever damaged. You can never fix them, because they can't understand that they are primate.
damage in what sense would you say that the damage?
Well, they can't live
They can't-
how they should be, right? So I guess if you think about it, I guess in nature, like certain animals have certain hierarchies. They know how to interact with another species. So not even talking about primate, I mean, can even talk about a pet bird, So I guess if you get a bird that's unweaned, so that means the bird that you have fed, in some countries now it's illegal. So they
To feed a bird? You mean like by
to buy a
strings?
baby bird that's unweaned is actually illegal, because they feel that the bird cannot learn how to be a bird. So they need that few months of developmental period with the mother bird to learn how to be a bird. Like how to learn to
okay,
fly,
makes sense.
how to groom, how to interact to be a bird. Then after that, after the weaning period is over, then you can take the bird away from the mother and sell it. So what they've done in the pet bird industry is like from baby they'll take it away, hand feed it, then they'll sell it unweaned to the owner.
Does this apply a lot in Singapore? Because in Singapore, I think they sell in a lot of pet shops. You can
Here
see a lot of baby birds.
anything goes. But that's what I'm saying. We're quite far away from that. But I guess that's the direction. I guess if you talk about like the level, of ethical way of keeping animals, like that's the direction it should go in.
Do you see some like some positive developments that we are moving forward towards, like let's say in terms of Western countries, like in the taking care of exotic animals, or maybe improvements in like what you mentioned for birds and
Not yet.
no positive development
What do
at
you
all?
think will be the first change? A first small step into that direction?
I guess there has to be an expert that has to guide that. I guess there has to be someone who knows what they're doing, guiding how the laws should be shaped, right? Or at least giving advice, Because I guess if the law is built based on ignorance and what my daddy used to do and my daddy's daddy used to do, we can never progress. So I think it needs to be based on like scientific information, like research, like what has been shown to work. And obviously there's a lot of material. Like it's not like a new prompt. So parrots that are unfortunately unweaned, like the bigger one, the more intelligent ones, they don't know how to be a bird. They end up having feather picking, mutilation. They'll chew themselves, pull their feathers. Start screaming. Then the owners can't handle it. So I mean, there's a lot of behavioral problems that can come from lack of knowledge. And not because of the owner's fault, but because unfortunately the bird was sold in a way that it wasn't properly raised and managed. Yeah, so it all starts from the beginning, you know what I mean? Like it starts from what we do with the pet trade, and then it goes to obviously education when the bird is purchased, and obviously continued good healthcare throughout the bird's life.
So maybe there should be have you ever advocated for a community of like maybe a lot of experts like yourself to speak to the policymakers to enable these changes?
Not yet. No.
Not yet, but would it be a good idea? Maybe. I mean,
Sure.
get rid
Someone's
a lot of
spearheading it.
experts
I
in
wouldn't
the
mind
field.
helping. I mean, definitely, but I guess if I'm one person, I guess it's a bit
It's
hard.
very difficult.
Yeah, it's hard.
Like
Yeah.
I feel. I'm always into that. Like I think the people in the country have the power to make the changes. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think podcasting helps.
yeah, that's why I think podcasting helps in
Yeah.
a way to bring
Correct.
awareness to these
Yeah.
certain issues.
Yeah. So I guess the law about like, hey, look, you can keep a certain animal as a pet. You can't keep a certain animal as a pet. I guess there has to be more debate about it. Like, why? What's the reason?
I agree with that. I think
You know?
everything, especially in the Singaporean context, everything is just black and white. People don't look at the grey aspect of it. They don't. Everything is just okay. This cannot do. This cannot do.
Yeah.
That cannot do. This cannot do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I guess in their defense, I guess the the landscape for veterinary medicine for exotic pets has changed a lot. I would say in the last 5 years.
In
you
a
know,
good way, or?
In a good way. I mean,
Okay.
like, you know, back in the day, like, you know, there's no way that would have worked. You know, because there wasn't enough.
Research on it? Or
No, because there's the practice. So I started the
practice, okay.
first exotics practice in Singapore. Right? I only see exotics, right? So I'm the first person that is doing it, right? So started it. So I would think since I came, obviously I feel anyway, like the amount of things we do for exotic pets have shot up, you know, like there wasn't even, you know, a place that saw a lot of birds. You know, started advocating for things with birds and things when I moved here. Yeah, so I think that definitely there should be a shift, hopefully, towards that. And maybe, like I said, maybe it's time, you know, to kind of open up a discussion about it. But back in the day, there wasn't, though. Because a lot of vets wouldn't treat exotics, or there's no knowledge to treat it. So how can you suddenly say, I want to keep XYZ as a pet when there's no one to be able to treat it? You know what I mean?
Okay,
Yeah.
of course.
So
Makes
of
sense.
course,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So it needs to
And-
come
and-
first is the healthcare. So same with fish, you know. I think that, you know, we're still in the dark ages with fish medicine. Everyone still like go to the uncle at the shop and like get some antibiotics off the shelf and some Praziquantel and don't know what, and just throw in the water. But you don't understand why. You don't know what you're treating, and I guess potentially we're throwing things in the water that goes back into our wastewater
Ecosystem.
system,
Yeah, yeah.
and then goes back to people drinking it again, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay,
So
now
it's
I'm
also
getting a bit scared actually. Because I just saw this we just saw this there was this Netflix episode. It's called Seaspiracy. I don't know if you have checked it out.
No.
So maybe you want
Yeah.
to elaborate on Seaspiracy?
So it's just basically like a conspiracy on pollution in the sea. So there was this journalist who went around the world finding out what is the cause of pollution.
Okay.
And it's not, I mean, of course, the plastic straws and the plastic bags are part of it, but it's only like 3% or 5% of that. So the main industry was basically just fishing nets.
The fishing nets.
That was the main cause of pollution in the sea. Yeah, so
So it's like a
Yeah,
cycle. I
basically.
mean, you the same fish nets they're using to capture the fish are actually the ones causing a lot of the sea the pollution, and a lot of it is getting stuck inside the
Yeah.
fish and the animals. So why is no one taking a stand towards these corporations? So that's basically what the
same cycle.
it's basically a continuous cycle. So it's never going to work. It's never going to improve. It's never going to
Yeah.
stay the same.
Right.
But coming back to the fish, like in the tank when you buy the medicine from the uncle, right? So would you say that most of the people that do that give the dosage wrongly?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, sometimes I mean you could also be getting the wrong drug into the animal. You know,
Because the uncle doesn't know.
right, like you're dosing it. You know, like it needs to be more accurate. Like and I guess is it really even an antibiotic responsive disease? You know.
Okay.
So you talk about One Health, right? So about like misuse of antibiotics. You know, so potentially I guess that will change because in a lot of westernized countries, more advanced countries, like they stop doing that. You can't get over the counter medications for animals from the shelf, and animals including fish. You know, so I think we're still not quite there yet, where people wouldn't even think about like going to the vet, right? Like you just think
Yeah.
about going to the fish shop to buy medication. Yeah, so I think it has changed for obviously like the mammals. Like you can't do that for most rabbits and things, or even puppies. Back in the day, you used to be able to pick up antibiotics for puppies on the shelf, but now you can't. So obviously, fish will have to move in that direction.
Okay.
Because it's safer. You know.
But how do we do it? Like what do we as Singaporeans?
I'm not defending the pet shops. I mean the fish shops, but I would say they are a lot more accessible than pets. You know, even here in our neighborhood here, you just go it's
Oh,
always
yeah.
under every HDB community you see a
Yep.
Oh, fish shop.
Yeah, fish shop, yeah.
Well, usually, like I guess most places, I guess more advanced places, I guess like they should have a relationship at least with a vet. You know, like so then like yes, there's some control over the drugs. That's all.
That
Like
makes
some
sense.
kind
Yeah,
of
that makes sense.
legislation regarding that.
I feel like especially in the Singaporean context, I feel like every HDB area should have a vet. Like in my opinion, because
every
it
area
will
lah.
be it will be so convenient. I mean, instead of me, taking Grab Pet and booking,
Yeah,
going
yeah.
for 25-30 minutes to go for a vet. If it's just downstairs my block, it's so easy, so simple. I'll just keep going to the same veterinary, and everyone in the community can also go to the same vet as well. I think
Yeah.
there's
But
a
is
lot
there
of-
like a shortage of vets still?
I think there is. I think there is still a shortage for vets in the country. I think definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
The market's not yet saturated, I guess, so that because of the boom of animals that have been purchased for during COVID, I think there is still a need for continued expansion for healthcare.
What can Singapore do? Like what can we do for to promote more, like to get more vets in the industry?
Maybe
What-
be
all
kind.
of us
Be
take the
kind to them.
No, I would
to
take years,
keep
man.
to keep the vets that are in the industry sane and wanting to continue doing what they do. Maybe, I guess it would be nice to be appreciated and treated well by clients.
You raise up you mentioned sane. Like what do you mean by that? Like
Well, I
the
guess
mental health for vets as well?
I think so. I think that it is something like, you have to be respected and kind of being taken as the expertise in your field. I'm not talking about myself, I'm just talking about vets in general, so people sometimes do tend to, go to Dr. Google and research a whole bunch of things, or they have their own, forums where they kind of go in and post questions and they think that somehow this person knows better, or like, just because they own an animal, they suddenly become an expert. So I
Okay.
think that I feel it's a more unique to maybe this country. I feel that people tend to be quite, like always trying to research and trying to, post their own values or opinions on certain medical aspects of things. And I guess it's fine to have an opinion, but I guess they do need to be kind, like you
actually,
can't just...
actually you're being too nice. I mean, it's fine to have an opinion, but you need to know that your opinion is wrong, lah. Basically. Yeah. I think this is something that. This affects a lot of Singaporeans. We think we
Correct.
know it all. We think we
Google,
we
like,
are Google. We are the experts now. I always see it always online.
Okay.
I spend a good 2 hours every week just arguing with people online, proving them wrong, because it's just like, they keep thinking they know it all. So it's just like,
Yeah,
I know what
well,
you mean.
yeah, I guess social media can be quite brutal, like you can
Yeah,
go
it's-
online these days and not have to talk to the person in the face. You can just slam them online. So I think it can affect a lot of people, like vets, who are like trying to do their best, it's really busy, and then they get slammed by this negativity, which is not fair. I feel they're only human. Yeah, so I think sometimes it's just kind of a bit depressing, I guess, when you hear about people being shot down or being brought down because someone just feels they can. Yeah, so I
Okay.
think a little bit more respect and I guess maybe trust, I guess, would be nice. It goes a long way.
Okay.
So I think you should give an announcement to the viewers as well. Yeah. You should tell them. No, for real. I like, guys, please be respectful of your vet. They do a lot of work for us. So
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
definitely agree with that.
like, they're only human, like I think everyone once became a vet because they want to save animals. Like no one decided one day they want to be a horrible person, kill animals, like so sometimes people have to be a bit kinder.
down, yeah.
Calm down. Now, obviously everyone's stressed, they're coming to the vet if the animal is sick. Everyone's emotions are charged, So I think that sometimes you just have to be more understanding of the person who's trying to help you.
Yeah,
Okay.
true.
So actually, I have a question. You started Beecroft by yourself, or
Myself and my husband.
okay? So this is like in the business aspect, right? Do you think that it is a expensive business to start up?
Yes, very expensive.
How expensive?
Well, it depends because we actually own quite a big setup, I guess.
Okay.
Because he's a surgeon, and because he's a surgeon, he needs a hospital of vets to take care of the animals that he's operated on. So we provide 24-hour care. So the difference, like you have a smaller clinic, like in a small area, then your manpower costs are not so high, infrastructure costs not very high. But when you have a big hospital, like it's pretty much like a human hospital. You have a ward team, you have an ICU, you have an emergency, you have critical care, you have medicine, you have imaging, you have a CT, you have an MRI, So obviously then the cost is higher.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you say 1 million?
Oh, past that point.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Past that point.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, past that point. Yeah.
That's extremely expensive.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Were you ever thinking of opening your own?
I was thinking of opening. Honestly, I was honestly because I feel that helping animals number one, yeah. But I feel that people pay a lot to treat their pets, and I feel that if I get to if I have the opportunity to open up a vet, I would do it. Yeah, but just on the profitable end. Means just thinking of profit, I would do it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess it's
That's the wrong way to look at it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I guess it's a lot of like costs that are sunk into it as well, like the education to have the vet, and then you have to have skilled nurses, and then you
Correct.
have to have X-ray machine, at the bare minimum X-ray machine, blood machines. Yeah, so the laboratory equipment.
Yeah, I think
So
it's harder to treat a pet compared to a human, because humans can talk, right? They can tell you
Yeah.
where is hurting
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Pets can't talk.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, a lot of times I rather deal with pets rather than humans, lah. But, that's a topic for another day. And what are do you have any expansion plans for your?
No,
For
I
your
think
practice?
right now I guess we're in a good place. I guess we're only 3 years. The hospital's only 3 years old. Yeah, so I think right now it's just trying to get some stability. We did get the MRI, maybe 6 months ago, maybe.
Okay.
Okay, so you get a MRI installed at your practice. Okay, that's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So now we can do like things like brain scans, things like that. That I guess most places won't be able to do. So I think that would help elevate the level of medicine. So I guess that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to make things more advanced. Not just like kind of like down here. We want the standard to be up here. So I guess that's why it became quite expensive to do that, because you have to get a lot of equipment. You have to get a lot of specialized, vets.
I mean, you're the first person to ever have your. I mean, you were the first to start the exotic pet practice.
For
of
me,
course,
yes. For exotics, yes. I'm the first person, I guess. But I guess it was more than just me. I guess it became a bigger project after that. Because then we got an internal medicine specialist. We have a neurologist. Now we have, so then it became like an actual hospital. So before I was just like a clinic with just exotic pets. And that's what I do. I only still do exotics. But right now, obviously, the project has become bigger.
So you're also treating normal pets as well?
No, I
or-
don't.
No.
I only
Okay.
just do exotic animals, but the hospital itself treats more than just exotics. Like we do, like I said, like a wider array of things, but all related to higher practice. Like like you would go to us probably because your pet is unfortunately very sick, needing advanced level, referral level medicine, like the way that you would go to a GP for certain things, but then you go to the special, you go to SGH if you're like, I have a very bad
Yeah,
problem, you know what I
correct,
mean?
correct.
Like you
Okay.
need the specialist to help you. Yeah, that's when you actually go to Beecroft, So that's when kind of
So
things.
you're like a 2-in-1 kind of hospital lah.
Well, I guess we're kind of like the second tier, right? So like if it's a simple issue, thankfully you can resolve it. If you can't resolve it, hey, look for us. We're here to help.
Okay.
In that sense.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. I want to know about volunteering at your practice. So is that a possibility for other people?
Yeah, so we do open up things like externships and I guess internships, training programs, but most of them are either for veterinary nurses or for vets. Yeah, so we're very
Okay.
into education, and obviously I feel quite strongly about it, but I guess to open it up to the general public is a bit difficult right now. Yeah,
Okay,
because
I
like we might
understand.
not have the manpower. so
Because
it's like
I
yeah,
mean, I feel that like it will help like to educate also the general public as well, like
yeah,
because a lot of us don't know almost anything about
yeah.
about pets. As you mentioned, we bring
Yeah.
our fish to the fish
Yeah.
uncles, which probably
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's already part of our culture. We have to change it.
Yes, yes.
And the only
Yeah.
way to do it is to get it out in the general public. So
Yeah,
maybe
yeah. So I guess maybe that's where I've kind of fallen a bit too busy, haven't done that as much. So when I first started the exotics clinic, like I did kind of, went to all those group, they have meetings, and I used to obviously meet the public and I give talks. So I used to give a lot of talks about like, birds and rabbits and hamsters. But I guess that's kind of something that I'm very interested to do, and I guess I've not done as much, like you say. It's like going out, reaching out to the public. So I'm planning to do like an open house. So I agree with you. I think it would be good for the general public to be able to come to the hospital, have a look, see what we do. So we can do something like an open house, where people
Okay.
can come in and meet the vets. For exotics anyway, meet the vets, have a look at our our equipment, our what we do
Understand.
there.
But I mean, it's also, I would say, a bit unfair that it's only just you and a few vets bringing it forward. What is the sorry if I ask, what is the Singapore government doing about it? Are they actually working on spreading awareness? What are they doing? Like,
I have
honest
no
question,
idea.
like Singapore zoos should actually be the ones bringing awareness.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I have never seen one Facebook post or Instagram post anything being said about spreading awareness of animals. This is my opinion. I have
Well, I guess
I've been here
they're
long enough and I haven't even seen one Facebook post.
I guess they're not going to be as
Open about it.
open about for exotic pets though, because it doesn't concern them. So the wildlife part is obviously that's where their conservation and they would promote that, but I guess it's a different thing altogether.
Okay.
Like you can't expect the zoo to be advocating for exotic pets because there's nothing to do with them.
Okay.
That
Or
makes
maybe
sense.
not just zoo, maybe just the what is the
Acres? Is it acres? I
is it
don't know.
acres?
No,
Like
so
the-
ACRES is a non-profit group that takes care of wildlife.
Okay.
Yeah, so like wildlife that are injured, that need medical attention. Yeah, so
Is there any branch of within the the government that is actually
for exotic pets?
they are promoting anything, not promoting, like educating or spreading awareness?
For exotic pets, not that I know of.
Okay, so yeah, that was my point. Like they should do something. They should do something more.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, they have the groups, right? The interest groups like the House Rabbit Society. So obviously they're run by owners, but very passionate people. But that's just
But it's
run
just
by owners.
The maximum that it is right now.
Yeah, so they have the Hamster Society. They have the little interest groups in Singapore, but they're run not by the government. Obviously, they're run by people who are very passionate about this particular type of pet, and they'll do like rescues. I don't know if that's also
I mean,
what
that's
you're asking about.
I
like
mean,
there are some of those.
that helps, I guess.
I mean,
Yeah,
that
that
helps, but no, it's just I'm saying on things I see, which I don't really see these being said a lot. Like because I used to live in Peru for half of my life, and I would say that even though it's a country with not a lot of resources that Singapore has, but I feel that people over there has a lot more knowledge on animals
Oh, is it?
than Singaporeans, especially because in Peru, since you have there's three types of different ecosystems. There's the coast, there's the mountainous area, there's the Amazon area. So there's a lot more exotic animals around, and maybe so even people with not a lot of access or resources are very aware of the exotic animals as well.
Yeah.
And I would say also the laws over there are much more flexible. But
The law is just
uh,
take out money and give.
Do you have any pets of your own in Peru?
I used to have dogs, but not anymore. Yeah. You want me to what? Tell you that I have a llama? No, I don't. I don't have llamas. I don't have alpacas, but I've seen them as well. Yeah. Actually, if I'm not wrong, one of the marmosets actually is native to Peru. I think they are native to Ecuador, Peru, Brazil.
Most of it.
Most of it, I think, is native
South
to
America.
South America.
Yes.
I don't even know how does it even end up in Singapore. Like how does it? Yeah, because if
It's like you lah, coming to Singapore. It's the same thing.
no, in my case it was my parents that brought me here. They are Singaporeans. Yeah.